Good Monday, good Monday morning of the 11th week of Ordinary Time. Actually, for me, it's the Saturday before Pentecost. As you know, I do these things 2 weeks in advance, so if I come across as confused, you know why. Also, on Monday, myself and Ted and Karen and Ben are going to go shell hearts. We're going to Bull Shoals Lake to attempt some fishing. I hope the weather holds up. It doesn't look too promising. We'll be there for about 5 or 6 days. Anyway, it's my annual trip. I used to go 2 or 3 times if I got old. I got old. It didn't. It's the most beautiful place you can imagine. Bull Shoals Lake is gorgeous. It's stunning. Even if I don't catch anything, it's a wonderful lake and it's safe. Big, but safe. Anyway, we'll be going. So if you have an extra prayer and you say it, don't have trouble with my truck. Truck, trailer, or boat. If all those three work, I'm happy, even if I don't catch a thing. All right, now back to the truth, okay, the real story here. And that is it's interesting, the 11th week, it's a combination of the book of Kings, first and second book of Kings, and Chronicles. And it's a sad story. It's a sad redemption story. It's the story of internal betrayal on the part of the kings and or whoever. But it's internal betrayal, not external, internal. When they give up their fidelity to the covenant to God and choose Baal. They choose the politically correct moment, as it were, and the role of Elijah and Elisha, the prophets, who called them back. You see. In a sense, it's Elijah and Elisha are symbols of the whole covenant community, but I think of the church. She's constantly the prophetic voice, calling to her own to come back to the core, come back to Christ. I take that seriously. This whole week, it's a stark reminder of where we have descended as a culture and where the church's voice, when proclaimed, is a proclamation of healing and redemption, not obedience to an external covenant, but to a covenant of love. And so you have Luke's gospel account, and Luke is writing for Gentile Christians. And he's not only telling us who are Gentiles, we're not outsiders, but he gives us, in a sense, the new kind of Decalogue. What he gives us is not the Beatitudes, I shouldn't have said it that way, but it is in Christ the completion of what should be a covenant. The covenant between the people and God is a covenant of love. That's what I'm trying to get. It is not a covenant of law, as it appears to be in the Mosaic tradition, but it's a covenant of the intimacy of love, between love of God and ourselves and God, and ourselves with each other. The kicker is what binds us together is love, not law, love. And remember St. Paul bat his head against the wall on that. See, among the Jewish tradition at that time, especially the Pharisees, they were lawyers. They were brilliant lawyers. They were calling the people back to the law. Christ transcends the law by completing it. He is a law of charity, and that is no law. It's a call to intimacy with each other, in and through Christ and into the world. And so what you get is the contrast. So in the book of Kings, what you see is internal betrayal. The kings, in a sense, betraying their own covenant, the covenant of God that they should be the ministers of. They betray it. See? And the prophets call them back to it, and if you don't, you pay a hell of a price for it. You get what you paid for. And they do. They get creamed. Okay? That's the point. God doesn't punish them. They're punished by their own betrayal. See? There's a lot of truth in that. You don't need an external force to correct you. You'll do it to yourselves. The internal betrayal always leads to divisiveness and self-destruction. I don't care if it's a nation, a culture, or a family. The worst thing in a family, and any family of nations or a family, is internal betrayal. And I'm not talking about adultery. It could be, in the sense that image is used all over the place here, okay, in the Old Testament, all right? It's not that. It's the failure to be faithful intimately to one's spouse, to be a partner and a forgiving partner, one that heals wounds, not that one begrudges the things that we are very fallible, very sinful, very weak human beings. We are going to hurt each other. The question is, will we heal? Will we seek forgiveness, and will we forgive? Or do we hold a grudge and we take it out through either isolation or vengeance? We do it both ways. You know it. You've seen it in your families, and anyone else have seen it, where you just stop talking to each other. That's isolation. Or you undermine. You undermine them. You speak badly about them. Undercut the family unit. Often you see this done with in-laws. Against in-laws or by in-laws. I'm not taking sides. It's a disruptive element that fractures the wholeness of the family. See? The only thing that'll heal that is the forgiving heart. When you're willing to allow the other, you're willing to forgive the other and ask for forgiveness oneself. We're not innocent. The most naive thing in the world is to think you kept your nose clean. I didn't do nothing wrong. I asked this question, what did you do right? You may not be guilty. That's the trouble with the old confession, which was used to tell everything you did wrong. They had a code of things you did wrong. I swore twice. I yelled at my wife once. I did this, I did that, and I did this. But what did you do right? When did you fail to do the right thing at the right time? Were you generous, you see? Were you forgiving? Yeah. I kept my nose clean. I went to church every Sunday. What are you kidding me? Hey, I gave $2 every time. Oh, okay, good for you, pal. Where were you when your grandson was in the hospital? Did you show up to see him? What about your wife? Did you remember her birthday? I knew a guy never gave his wife a birthday present. That's not a sin. That's stupidity. It's pathetic. Let me say that. That is a sin. It's not a sin of aggression where you do something wrong. It's when you didn't do what you should have done right. See? That requires far more than the obedience to rules. See? The old confessional system, you would never hear, did you sin again? It was all codified by canon lawyers. The sins, some mortal, some venial, beep, boop. They taught us this stuff in the second grade, okay? Better go past second grade mentality. That's what Christ does. The Pharisees were second graders. Christ is a postdoc. Demands a hell of a lot more. You see? Now watch what the gospel says here. I'll show it to you. Jesus says to his disciples, this is chapter 5 of Luke, okay? You have heard it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That was a fundamental law, cultural law especially. You touch one of mine, I'm going to get you, okay? It was a moral law of personal and familial and cultural survival. Brutal. But I say to you, offer no resistance to one who is evil. Wow, what a mouthful. He just undid that whole principle. When someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other one to him as well. You see? Christ is radically transforming it. He's going infinitely beyond the law. You see that? If anyone wants to go to law with you over your tunic, hand them your cloak as well. Should anyone press you into service for 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Give to the one who asks of you, and do not turn your back on the one who wants to borrow. What he's doing there, is he telling you get the crap kicked out of you? No, he's not telling you that. But he's showing you a mindset. It's not an eye for an eye or tooth for tooth. If you do that, you will always be in a state of war. So he makes an extreme claim. Better to be the victim, but not the aggressor. Not an eye for an eye, to forgive, heal through forgiveness. See, it's not weakness, it's pure strength. It's not because you're weak that you forgive the other person. It's because you're stronger than that person. See, you heal. Christ calls us to healing. He doesn't call us to vengeance. And vengeance only breeds vengeance. Everybody knows that. That's the kind of, if you watch mob movies, that's the mob. See? That's an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. You mess with me, I mess with 2 of yours. Then you mess with 3 of mine. It's horrifying. It never ends. Watch Godfather 1, 2, and 3, and you see what ends. You die alone. Michael dies alone. Eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. He lives that. And he dies alone. Not even the dog at his side pays any. When he falls off the chair and dies, the dog walks away. Hell, he couldn't even have the friendship of a dog. Why? He eschewed friendship for power. And power is built on an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Good. Try it. You will die alone.